The wind came down from the red cliffs like a warning, sweeping through the tall grass and rattling the loose boards of the fence. Elias Crowley paused in his work, hammer still in hand, because that sound never came without meaning. Out here, the land spoke first. After 12 years alone on the ranch, after burying his wife and small son beneath a cottonwood near the creek, he had learned to listen. That was when he saw her. She stood just beyond the boundary of his land, as if an invisible line held her in place. Tall and broad-shouldered, wrapped in a worn Apache blanket, she looked carved from the same stone as the cliffs behind her. Dust streaked her face, and one sleeve was dark with old blood. Her black hair was braided thick down her back, and her eyes, sharp, steady, unflinching, were fixed on him. "I can't live without a man," she said. The words struck him harder than he expected. Elias straightened slowly, his fingers tightening around the hammer. "Then you're standing in the wrong place," he replied. "I live alone." She didn't move, didn't flinch. "I didn't say I needed a master," she said quietly. "I said I need a man to survive. Winter is coming. Alone I will die." Elias noticed the way she leaned ever so slightly against the fence post. The stiffness in her left leg she tried to hide. Apache women were known for their strength, not their pleas, and yet her voice held no begging, only truth. "What's your name?" he asked. "Ayana," she answered. "My people are gone." Silence stretched between them, filled only by the wind and the distant call of a hawk. Letting her stay would bring trouble, soldiers, settlers' blood. Sending her away would be a death sentence. And Elias had seen enough. Death for one lifetime. 3 nights, he said at last. "You work, you eat, then you leave." Ayana nodded once, as if she had already expected the terms. 3 nights is enough to show you I am not weak." That evening, as the fire crackled between them and shadows danced across the cabin walls, Elias realized something unsettled him more than her presence. For the first time in years, the silence no longer felt empty. By the second morning, the ranch no longer moved to Elias Crowley's rhythm alone. He woke before dawn out of habit, yet found Ayana already outside, her breath rising in pale clouds as she worked among the horses. She spoke to them in a low voice, not in English, not in Apache, but in a tone that felt older than language itself. The skittish mare that had thrown 2 hired hands the year before stood calm beneath her touch. Elias watched from the doorway, unsettled by how naturally she belonged to the land. She did not ask what to do. She saw what needed doing and did it. When a fence post leaned under the weight of last night's wind, she lifted it with steady strength and braced it with stone. When his old shoulder wound stiffened in the cold, she noticed the way he favored his arm and later left a bundle of crushed herbs on the table without explanation. "You plan on staying longer than 3 nights?" he asked as they shared a sparse meal. Aya met his gaze without challenge. "You plan on sending me to die?" she replied. The question lingered between them, unanswered. By late afternoon, the sound of hooves broke the quiet. 3 settlers rode up, their eyes narrowing the moment they saw her. One laughed, low and mean. "Didn't know you were keeping company like that, Crowley." Elias stepped forward before Ayana could move, placing himself squarely between them. "She's under my roof," he said. "That's all you need to know." The men's hands drifted toward their guns. The air tightened, sharp as a drawn blade. When the first shot cracked the stillness, everything moved at once. Elias fired, driving the men back, but it was Ayana who ended it. She moved with sudden speed, striking one rider down before he could raise his weapon. Blood stained the dust, and the other 2 fled with fear written across their faces. Afterward, Elias's hands shook not from fear, but from realization. He hadn't protected her alone. She had protected him just as fiercely. That night, the truth finally surfaced. Her people had been taken by sickness and soldiers. Alone, she was hunted. With him, she still had a chance. "I did not mean I need a man to rule me," she said softly, staring into the fire. "I need one who stands beside me." Elias said nothing, but he knew the answer had already been given. Winter came down on the valley without mercy, sealing the land in whitened silence. Snow buried the trails, and the world beyond the ranch faded until there was nothing but the cabin, the animals, and the long nights. Elias and Ayana worked side by side, their movements growing familiar, almost wordless. What had begun as survival slowly turned into something steadier, something that held again. The cold, at night, The fire burned low as the wind pressed against the walls. Elias spoke of his wife in fragments, of a small boy who used to chase chicken through the yard, of laughter that once filled the cabin and then vanished. Ayanna listened without interruption, her face calm, her eyes carrying a grief that recognized his own. When she spoke, it was of songs her mother sang, and of a people who once filled the mountains with voices. Loss lived in both of them, shaping them in different ways, yet carving the same hollow places. One night, a storm tore through the valley with violent force. A roof beam cracked under the weight of snow and collapsed, sending splinters and freezing air into the cabin. Trapped by the storm, they worked together to brace the damage, hands numb, bodies closed. When the work was done, exhaustion settled in, heavy and quiet. "I don't know how to be what you need," Elias admitted, staring at the fire. "Only know how to endure." Ayanna placed her hand over his scarred one, warm and steady. "I did not come here to be saved," she said. "I came to live. And I chose this place." When the storms finally eased, soldiers rode through the valley, their eyes sharp, searching. They saw an Apache woman standing openly beside a rancher who did not step aside. The moment passed without blood, and the riders moved on. Spring followed, slow and green. Ayanna could have left when the roads reopened. She did not. Elias no longer asked her to. The land changed under their care, and so did they. Two lives once broken now stood together, not because they could not survive alone, but because they chose not to.